Hey, Coach Bradley here. Today we're going to be talking about how to lose weight fast. But as you see, I hooked you in with that title. We're going to talk about how to lose weight fast, and then we're going to talk about how to lose weight sustainably, because that's what we're all after. Trust me, you do not want to lose weight fast, only to gain the body fat and the weight back. So, just to go over a brief overview, how to lose weight fast. Number one, cardio 1 hour per day, or 1 hour, at least an hour of cardio per day. Number two, eat less than 1,000 calories per day. Number three, eat zero carbs to eliminate water weight. Number four, try the newest weight loss drug, the Ozempic, Wegovy, however you say these things. So this is what a lot of people think it takes to lose weight or lose weight fast. They think they need to do at least an hour of cardio per day. They think they need to eat less than 1,000 calories per day, just because someone told them to, or they read that on the internet, or it just seems like it makes sense. Number three is to eat zero carbs to eliminate water weight. So a lot of people think that, keto is king, and if they cut all carbs out, they immediately start losing body fat. And then number four, which is the biggest craze that I've seen, the biggest craze I see going on right now, and one of the biggest crazes I've seen in a few years, is honestly, everyone seems to, instead of exercising and instead of optimizing their diet and instead of moving around and doing what they need to be doing, a lot of people are wanting to go get a weight loss drug, even if their insurance doesn't cover it, they still want to go get a weight loss drug that will turn off their hunger and that they'll lose weight without almost trying. But what happens when you don't have the drug anymore? What happens if it's not available? And what happens when you decide you don't want to always be taking something all the time? What tends to happen is that hunger will come back naturally, and you're going to naturally start eating the foods that you were eating before, which leads to what we are talking about, which is the weight regain, the dreaded weight regain. A lot of people have dieted on and off. A lot of people have lost weight, lost body fat, gotten healthy. But if they had done those in quick ways or quick fixes, 90% plus of the people gain the weight back. So we definitely don't want to do that. Thank you, Buck. Yeah, I noticed that. It looks backwards when you're recording, but then on the replay on the recording, it seems to mirror it back correctly. So a lot of people were talking about doing the newest weight loss drug, zero carbs, eat less than 1,000 calories a day, and then at least 1 hour of cardio per day. So is that sustainable? The biggest point is that sustainable? And I argue that it is not sustainable at all. It is the exact opposite. And so what is more sustainable, and I apologize to you guys if somehow the board is unreadable now. When I did a test earlier, it seemed to be readable. So maybe these recordings just do differently for some reason. But in order to counter 1 hour of cardio per day, what I'd argue is a much more sustainable option is to do daily step counts and daily activity. So if you're doing daily step counts, appreciate you, Buck. Good to see you, buddy. But if you're doing daily step counts and daily activity, if you see that you're hitting those 8,000, 10,000, 12,000 steps per day, that is going to translate to you having a lot of good activity and body fat burning. When you're doing low-level activities such as walking, laundry, groceries, just simple things throughout your day, you're typically going to be burning body fat, or you're going to be burning fat for fuel. So if you're in a calorie deficit, then you will be burning body fat as fuel, unless you ate some fats earlier and you're using those fats. So I think there's a lot of context out there that gets left in the keto space. People think, oh, I'm doing keto, then I'm burning body fat. Well, it depends. Are you keto adapted? Are you in a deficit? Did you just eat fats in the past few hours? If you actually have adapted to ketosis, then any dietary fats you take in, those fats will be digested over time, converted to ketones for energy. But if you haven't had any fats or dietary fats recently, and you're in a fasted and or ketosis state, then you could be more than likely liberating body fat to be converted to ketones. So it's real sciencey. It's a lot deeper than people say. They just say, oh, do keto. Keto burns body fat for fuel, or burns fat for fuel, which means it's always burning body fat for fuel, which isn't always the case. So if you're having those daily step counts be up there, and you're being highly active and you're getting those walks in, that's also low stress. So instead of doing high intensity cardio every day, that's going to be high stress on your body. If you do that every single day, what you tend to see is people lose muscle mass. So two of these things, actually, if you do at least an hour of cardio a day and run every single day for 2 to 3 weeks. Eventually, you're going to adapt to this. You're going to burn less calories doing this, but also when you to be more efficient at running, it takes dropping muscle mass actually. So if you want to be a long distance runner, you notice that long distance runners are not, super jacked or muscular most of the time. That's because muscle mass is going to weigh you down for long distance running. So if you're running all the time in order to lose fat, a lot of times you think you're losing weight, you may be losing muscle mass or losing both, which is just going to make you look flatter and thinner and not as in shape. And then another thing they've learned is that the weight loss drugs that everyone is getting on, they doing some DEXA scans and such from the people who are on these drugs, and it turns out that yes, they're losing weight, but they're losing mostly or half of that weight from muscle mass. So they're not a lot of times if you lose 10 pounds, if 5 pounds of that's muscle and 5 pounds of that is body fat, sometimes your body fat percentage can actually go up. So these drugs are making people lose weight, but a lot of times if they're not doing all the other things correctly and they're just taking the drug, they're typically losing muscle mass as well. They're losing lean muscle mass and they're losing some body fat, so they're technically losing weight overall. But the goal of any successful fat loss and fitness program or phase is that it's going to help you drop body fat, keep the body fat off, and maintain or build lean muscle mass. That's going to make you look good, feel good, and perform well, and you're going to feel great when you have that body composition. And so, translating from the left side to the right side, just to go a little quicker, just to kind of get through this. But also, with the daily step counts, I recommend strength training. So if you're doing the daily step counts, and then maybe you want to add a day or two of cardio or conditioning for heart health, for, it actually does help drop a little bit of body fat, but if that's your main mode, like we said, it'll be more muscle. But if you're strength training and you're getting your daily step counts, that means you're going to be burning body fat, and also means you're going to be stimulating your muscle mass so that you keep that muscle mass. And that ensures that if you're losing weight, that the weight you're losing is coming from body fat, which is what we want. So strength training, 2 to 4 times a week. 2 times will get it done. 2 full body workouts a week will be just fine for most people. And then daily step counts. That's going to help you lose the weight, keep it off, and know that you're on the right track. And then the next point is eating less than 1,000 calories a day. Honestly, kids eat more than this in half a day, and honestly, no adult man or woman should be eating less than 1,000 calories a day. I don't care who told you that. You shouldn't be eating less than 1,000 calories a day. And one thing we find is, as a nutrition coach, what I do with people is I help them find their maintenance at first, which means we're going to be tracking food intake very, not loosely, but tracking food intake simply for the first week or 2 of the process so that you can actually find how much you're eating. I can do all the online calculations and figure out what your maintenance should be, but if you've been on and off dieting, or you have some other conditions, or you've just been adapting to life, we don't exactly know what your maintenance is until we test it. So we may estimate it and shoot toward that, but we really want to track your food intake and look at how many calories you're taking in, and is your weight going up or down. If you're taking in 2,400 calories and your weight is stable, that means 2,400 calories is around your maintenance. And those are all just numbers. It's always going to be plus or minus because everything isn't perfectly measured out to the number correctly over everything we do. But tracking that, finding your maintenance, and then create a calorie deficit from there. So if I work with you and you find that we find your maintenance is 2,200 calories and you've been maintaining your weight and your goal is to lose weight, then we would take those 2,200 calories and then we're actually going to make a deficit from that correct maintenance. So instead of just estimating your maintenance and throwing people into a plan that I may think is supposed to be correct, life isn't like that. So it does take some monitoring and seeing what works. So what I recommend is track your food intake for a little while and see what your true intake is. And if you've been struggling and actually gaining weight, and then you track your food intake and you find where your calories are falling, then that's probably going to be a surplus for you. So you're going to want to reel that back down to maintenance and then maybe reel that back down to a calorie deficit. If you do it slowly, properly, it's more sustainable. But if you do it too quick, you may drop water weight, drop body fat, stress your body out, and then as soon as you give up on that diet, then you go and eat normally and you're back to that, you're above maintenance and you're going to gain that weight back. So what I recommend is tracking food intake, finding your maintenance, and then create a calorie deficit from there. But also make sure you're monitoring your biofeedback, meaning you're monitoring how your sleep is, you're monitoring your hunger, your cravings, you're this, you're that. If somebody puts you in a 500 to 600 calorie deficit, which is pretty drastic, and you find that your sleep is suffering and that you're hungry every single day, then you probably want to ease into that deficit more gradually instead of just dropping it so fast and it shocking your body. So I recommend finding your maintenance. I recommend creating a calorie deficit from there and then monitoring your biofeedback to make sure that it's working with your physiology and your biology, to make sure you're feeling good and make sure that it's working. A lot of people see the epitome of health for some reason as somebody on a bodybuilding stage. That may be the pinnacle of physique, but it's surely not the pinnacle of health. All those people on that stage who were at their pinnacle of physique, they would tell you all of them will tell you they feel like crap and they're starving and they don't feel good. It's because when you take your body to those extremes of physique, you are putting your longevity on the back burner. So your health and your biofeedback and your blood work is not going to be great at all when you're dieting down to the extremes like a bodybuilding stage. So don't ever think that getting that lean or competing on a stage is the pinnacle of health. It's the pinnacle of physique in which you see. It's definitely the opposite of the pinnacle of health and feeling good and having a strong and powerful metabolism that's working well. Going on from there, people think you need to eat 0 carbs in order to lose weight. The truth is, it's intelligent to control your carbs and then still enjoy them with what I call the 80-20 guideline, which is, it's good to have 80 to 90% of your food intake come from whole and real foods. This is actually, your body's going to digest them well. It's going to help you have good gut health, especially if you're having a diverse range of fibers as well as probiotics with most meals. If you're doing that, you're going to have a robust microbiome. You're going to be feeling good. You're not going to suffer from mineral and micronutrient deficiencies. You're going to have all the vitamins and minerals you need when you're eating a lot of whole and real colorful foods. And then having about 10 to 20% allotted for your flexibility foods, like having some ice creams and things like that. If you eat 80 to 90% whole and real foods all the time, then having just 10 to 20% flexibility with your tasty and processed foods, you're going to be just fine as long as you're strength training and you're hitting your step counts and you're at maintenance and you're in a deficit. You're just checking all these boxes, then you can have some flexibility in your diet for sure. But what we see in the American diet, especially, they call it the standard American diet, stands for the SAD diet. A lot of people in America who are eating 60% or 70% of their food intake from processed foods, meaning that they are not getting a good number of micronutrients, they're not getting a good number of minerals, they're not getting nutrition and nutrients in their body on a daily basis in the appropriate amounts to make you feel good. So then you go along and you feel bad. You're wondering, why do I feel bad? Why do I feel sickly? Why is my gut health messed up? Why can't I use the bathroom? Why am I having digestive issues? More than likely, it's mineral and micronutrient deficiencies and just eating food that doesn't provide protein, doesn't provide fiber, and doesn't provide much nutritional value. When you're eating foods that are void of nutritional value, you are going to be hungry. You're not getting those signals to your body to eat the foods that God gave us. God put plants and animals and trees and fruits and vegetables, all this stuff in this world for us to eat. And there's a reason that when you eat those, you feel better and your body composition is better. Actually, if a lot of people stop focusing on losing weight and they focused on being happier and healthier, the result of that would be weight loss. A lot of the things I see when people get happy and healthy, they just drop the weight. When you're focusing on weight loss, you're not focusing on being happy and healthy. You're actually taking away from those most of the time by going 0 carb, by eating less than 1,000 calories a day, by doing over an hour of cardio per day. No one wants to do that. That's not sustainable because no one wants to do that. So do what's sustainable, which would be enjoy your carbs, but control them. Maybe if you have a day where you're less active, maybe don't load the carbs up. If you're on a non-training day, don't not have carbs, but don't eat in excess of carbs. So control your carb intake, maybe cycle them around your training, maybe cycle them to, if you're a weekend person, if you like to have a lot of carbs and enjoy yourself on the weekends, Monday through Friday, maybe lower that carb intake so you can have more carbs on the weekend, so you stay within the other guidelines. One thing I will say is that if you're built, like what I do is I like to prime people up with their metabolism and their mindset before going into a fat loss phase, because people think they're ready for a fat loss phase and they're not. They're not ready for the hunger that's going to come. They're not ready for eating less foods. They're not ready for the things that come to have a successful fat loss phase, typically and that's what I call being in season. So you could start out being 80-20, but when you go into being in season, meaning you're hitting it. Your goal is to lose the body fat in 2 to 3, 4, 5 months from priming, and you're going to be looking more at like a 90-10. You're going to be looking to really hit that 90% food intake from whole and real foods and then 10% flex. And if you really hit that 90-10, you can have a lot of success, especially when you've been mentally primed and your metabolism has been primed. Meaning, by priming the metabolism, all I mean is like getting people to eat more protein, getting them to strength train, getting them to walk, getting them to be more active, and eating more foods and eating more real foods. Real food is going to jumpstart your metabolism. And so when you get in season, you're really shooting for that goal. 90-10 would be recommended, or 90-10 may be what people need. Some people may not need to go that extreme. Some people may be fine with the 80-20 and they are having no problem. But if you're an 80-20, having a little bit of difficulty, shoot for that 90-10. That's going to have you more locked in. And then versus, instead of using weight loss drugs and things that just turn off your hunger and then they eventually make you lose muscle mass, the way to counter that is to make sure you're using all these things I just talked about in conjunction to make sure that you're losing body fat sustainably while maintaining lean muscle mass. This will help you look good naked. This will help you feel good. This will help you look more shapely and fit, and just help you'll enjoy the way you look if you're dropping body fat and you're maintaining or building lean muscle mass. If you're losing weight and you're losing muscle and some body fat, you're not going to like the way you look. If you're losing body fat and maintaining muscle mass, that's a recipe for keeping the weight off, for having a stronger and more robust metabolism. And like I said, you're also going to have that lean muscle, which is going to be a place, we store a lot of our carbohydrate in the form of glycogen and glucose. Carbohydrate is glucose. Glucose stores as glycogen in our muscles. So the more muscle mass you have, the more energy storage you have for things like carbohydrate and energy. And so having that lean muscle is going to help you look good, help you feel good, and a much more sustainable. If you're doing all these things and you're doing it incrementally, the best way to do it is to lose about 1 pound per week. If you're losing 1 pound per week over 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, your body's going to have a much easier time sustaining that result, as opposed to doing the fast fix, losing weight fast and using the drugs and eating less than barely eating and doing at least an hour of cardio per day. You may be looking at losing 2 to 4 pounds plus per week. Some of that water weight, some of that muscle mass, but you end up losing weight faster. But when you lose weight faster, you gain it back faster. So on the left side, you're losing weight fast. You're losing 20 pounds in 2 months. It may only take you a month to gain the 20 pounds back. That's just how the body works. And if you do it, a lot of times if it's faster, it's not as sustainable. So when you do it slow and steady, your body slowly adapts a little bit at a time, so that when you get to where you're going, you're more closely adapted to this weight, this set point, and this maintenance level, as opposed to when you lose it super fast. You're actually still closer to your old set point. Your body's going to fight to get back to that old set point. So if you lose weight too fast, a lot of times, and most of the time, people gain it back fast, as opposed to losing it slower over time and then keeping that weight off. So just wanted to hop on just a quick live, trying to get better at speaking live and teaching you guys anything I can with health, fitness, muscle, body fat, all the things, and how to optimize your diet, optimize your performance for anyone out there. So that's the goal of these lives. I'm going to be talking about optimizing your diet so that you lose weight, build muscle, and feel good, and that leading into optimizing your performance, whether it be with your loved ones, with your family, with your work, with your profession, with your purpose, with your church, anything. So optimizing your diet and your performance will bleed into all areas of your life. That's just what we're talking about here. A lot of times this is a way to lose weight fast, but not sustainably. Here's a way to lose weight slow and steady and sustainably, and so that you like the way you look, you like the way you feel, and that you can use these strategies for life to maintain that weight loss and that health. So I appreciate you for watching. Y'all have a good day, and I'll see you soon.